These books have been so smartly written, and I'm not sure smartly is a word. Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome to Acid Burn Saya, and today I'm going to be talking about my November wrap-up. These are the books that I read in November. This month I only read 5 books. I don't know why I only read 5 books this month, but still to me that is a lot. That is at least one a week, so that is good for me. However, last month I read 10, which is the most books I've ever read in a month. So that was a big achievement, but this month it was just a general normal month for me. The first book that I finished this month was The Final Gambit by Lynn Barnes. This is the 3rd book in the Inheritance Games trilogy, and I think the final one in it. However, the book leaves it very open for more books. So I think that's the end in that series. I know there is going to be a standalone in that universe. And she is going to release another book, which I think is going to start a new series in the Inheritance Games universe. I'm sure everyone talks about the Inheritance Games. I read the other 2 in previous wrap-ups. It shows just how much I enjoyed this series that I read one after the other, because I really enjoyed it and wanted to stay in the universe and carry on. And I was really lucky that I didn't have to wait a year or 2 years for it. So I was very thankful for that. If any of you don't know, the book series follows Avery, who inherits a billionaire's fortune. The rest of the family is cut off from the fortune. But he likes to play games, so it's all about games, and it's why was she picked and everything. So this is the last book in the trilogy, which is meant to wrap up loose ends, and it did. One of the things I really enjoyed was that there was a time jump. The book starts off with a time jump because the other books just go on straight after each other, and I felt that that is what the books needed. They needed a time jump, and I preferred it. One of the things I didn't enjoy was that there was flashbacks to moments that we don't know about, and it wasn't very well explained. That was one of the things I was a bit off about. The book starts off at Avery's 18th birthday, and it is a fantastic birthday party. It's a birthday party I would love, and I would have been so thrilled with at 18, and now. If you're listening, that's what I want for my birthday. That is a perfect birthday party, I think. I can see why people say that they think that the 2nd and 3rd book were split up, but I enjoyed it. I thought it ran really well and it worked very well. I was happy with it in a trilogy. However, as I said, I didn't have to wait. However, one of the things that I will say is that I would have liked, and it's still a possibility I'm sure, is a prequel of Tobias Hawthorne, who was the billionaire who left all the money to Avery and disinherited his family. I would have liked a prequel of his children, so Skye, Zara and Toby Hawthorne. I would have liked them. I would have liked to have seen how they grew up and how they turned into who they are now. However, my favourite Hawthorne has to be Xander, who is one of the grandsons. Tobias Hawthorne had 4 grandsons. Xander is the youngest, and he's lovely. Now, the way I read him, I thought he was like really young. I thought he was younger than he was, but he was lovely. He is totally my favourite Hawthorne. Some of the notes I have would be too spoilery for the series, so I can't talk about that because I don't want spoiler. This is no spoilers here. As per usual with Lynn Barnes, there are many red herrings and you never know what's going to happen, which one of the things is that I loved about the series is that I never knew what was coming and could never guess. These books are so intelligent and have been really well thought out, and all the twists have been so thought out and intertwined. It's a fantastic book series to read, and I was happy how this book series ended. The book series was left open-ended, which was lovely, and it meant that the book series can continue, but it also can stop. And because of how intelligent this book was and how well written it was, it makes me want to read more of her books to explore her back catalogue. However, it doesn't I didn't enjoy it enough to put down all the other books that I'm reading to start her back catalogue, but I will carry on with her as an author. They brought in a new character, and I'm sure we will see more of them. I don't want to spoil anything, but I do think this character will be back in other books, and you haven't seen the last of them. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the book series, and I very much recommend it to anyone who wants to read it. The second book that I read in November was Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry. I had this audiobook on pre-order. I listened to him talk rather than read it. Some of you might know Matthew Perry as Chandler Bing from Friends. He was also in The Whole Nine Yards with Bruce Willis in the movie. He has also done Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, which I have the DVD of somewhere. I've done an in-depth review on this, and it will be up after I edit it. So hopefully it should be up soon, and you can look at that to get an in-depth review. It opens up with Matthew Perry's talking about how his colon explodes. Well, unfortunately for him, he is in hospital. Unfortunately for him, he was on a vent at the time. So when his colon exploded, it brought up all the poison up so he could vomit it out. But because he was on a ventilator, the ventilator pushed the poison down and into his lungs. He was given a 4% chance of survival, and this experience makes him reflect on his life and how he got here. Basically, the reason that his colon explodes is from the drugs and alcohol, but his body had told him quite a few times by different elements that he needed to look after it more, but he doesn't. He talks an awful lot about rehab and his drug use and his parents. I find it an enjoyable read, but I also find it very, very scary because, I mean, it's not a happy book. It is not a happy book. It is about a man who gets what he thinks he wants. He wants fame, and he gets what he wants, and in the end he would give it all up just to not have this addiction. And he has a lot of experiences and a lot of women, and you can understand why it's called Friends because of the TV series, and Lovers because he has many, many lovers. And the big terrible thing is what he calls his drug addiction. He names quite an awful lot of women in it, so you can see my proper review of that soon. So if you subscribe, you will get a notification whenever the review comes out. But I will say this: I had a friend in work who read the Matthew Perry book, and she didn't like it at all. She thought he came out terribly. Yes, he doesn't come out the best in the book, because I didn't realise that his drug addiction stayed for so that he never kicked his drug addiction. And I listened to it, and his humour, the humour in the book came off so much better because he read it and he shared his humour with it. Whereas if you're reading it, it just comes off like he's being serious. And it didn't help whenever I was reading it, Aaron Carter died, which was another death from drugs and child stardom and searching for that fame. So it is a cautionary tale. It is not light reading at all, so please read the trigger warnings and understand what you're going into before you get into it. The third book that I read this month was Alex Scott's How Not to Be Strong. Alex Scott is a retired English footballer who is now a presenter. She presents, a part-time presenter on the One Show. She also would do presenting on Children in Need. I know her from whenever she did her stint on Strictly Come Dancing, and I didn't realise that she was a sports presenter with Sky before this. So I also have a review coming for this book when I edit it. So hopefully this month, but it could be pushed to January. But we'll see with the schedules and everything. But it's filmed, it just needs edited. Alex Scott comes from a mixed race family, a poor area in London. This is her story of how she overcome her obstacles. She came from a broken family. There is domestic abuse in this memoir. Sorry, I forgot to say it is a non-fiction. The start of it I thought was brilliant. I thought everyone could read it. Then it got a bit too much into the football because she is a female English footballer. I forgot about that, but besides that, I really enjoyed listening to her family life and everything to do with that and how she overcame it. And the book in itself is how she learns not to be strong because she's learned how to be strong her entire life. It's about learning how to be softer and to let someone else help her. I bought this and listened to it on audiobook. I bought it because it was on offer and I decided why not listen to it after Matthew Perry, and their books are completely different. Both come from a broken family, but hers definitely much stronger. Considering Alex Scott is not an actress, yes, she is a presenter, you really got the emotions coming off her. You could tell when she was crying, you could tell when she is happy. She is such a lovely personality. So I do recommend, if you're going to read this, to listen to the audiobook because you really get her personality and her feelings and her vibe from it. Her positivity and her aura definitely comes on the audiobook, and you can tell when she's smiling and you can tell when she's crying. The fourth book that I read this month was To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. I hope I've said her name right. This is a Little Mermaid retelling, and instead of the mermaid being a mermaid, she is a siren. She is a siren, and her mother is the sea queen, Ursula, you know, with the octopuses and everything. And one of the things I really liked about this retelling is there was enough elements from The Little Mermaid for the Easter eggs, but it was far enough away from it that it was its own story. And I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I really recommend this. This was on my to buy list that had been recommended. I think Carrie Can Read had recommended it, and also Haley from Haley and Bookland had recommended it, and that's why it was on my list. And whenever it came up that it was on offer on Apple's audiobooks, I was like, yes, I will. yes. So I snapped that up whenever it I think it went down to $4.99. I was like, yes. This is a enemies to lovers book, and I really enjoyed that. I don't think there was spice in it. There might have been a little bit of spice, but it wasn't anything, and I really liked it. It is a YA fantasy. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is a standalone. Lyra, who is our siren, and sirens on their birthdays collect hearts. Because she is the princess, she collects princes' hearts. And our Prince Eric, who is not Prince Eric, he is a siren hunter and a sailor. It is a very interesting story and very good. I highly recommend it. I would quite happily watch a movie adaptation of this book. It was that good. And this was my first retelling that I have read, to my knowledge. Well, besides Throne of Glass, but I'm not sure you would classify that as a retelling. Based a little bit on Cinderella, but yeah, not enough that I could see. The main characters of this book were brilliant. I really enjoyed them, and I thought they were very fleshed out. I gave this 5 stars, and I know I gave the last 5 stars I gave, I think it was to a thriller in October. But this is definitely on like my best books of this year. I really enjoyed this. I cannot wait to read any more of her books and see if I enjoy them just as much. Highly recommend it to anyone who has not read it, so go ahead and read it. The last book that I read this month, and only finished it last night, is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Legendborn is a YA fantasy. It is centered around Bree Matthews, who is age 16 and ends up in a college doing a special course for teenagers at the college. Bree has just lost her mother. This is a very realistic telling of grief and pain. So many books where someone dies, they just move on. They don't, in the YA books, the grief isn't really properly expressed or realistically expressed. They just move on and they're too busy trying to figure out everything that's going on to deal with their grief. This is a Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur themed book. Bree happens upon a group who are descended from King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table in search of what happened to her mother. I said I just finished this last night. It took me a while to get into it. I find with it, when I started to read it, I enjoyed it and wanted to keep reading, but because the print is so small and it takes me so long to read, I found I wasn't getting very far with it. In the end there, I knew I wanted to get it finished by the end of the month, so I divided how many pages I had left with how many days were left in the month, and so that I could get it finished, and I find that really helped me much more. It is set in North Carolina. Bree, I liked the character of Bree. I also loved the character of Nick. I really, really, really liked Nick. I need to go in the book crushes area. Yeah, I think he is. It definitely gave me Shadowhunter vibes, the Mortal Instrument vibes between some of the characters and how the characters were reacting. And she did feel a tiny bit like Clary. Just a tad. It was all very enjoyable and I can see why it's been hyped up. But it did take me a while to get into it and to get into the plot. The ending definitely made up for the lag that was going on at the start. It's a lot of world building, so it was probably my brain trying to get into the world building itself. So I don't blame the author at all. This book did make me cry because at one point she looks at a family tree set up with all the different lines from Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and Bree thinks, who would have cared about the slaves that they owned to do a family tree like that? And the people who bought the ones from Africa, would they care enough about their family tree? And that made me cry because I do my family history and I have issues because I'm from Ireland and Northern Ireland, and then if you have family in your family history in Ireland, you're basically snookered because our records got destroyed. Not the same thing, and I think I never thought of it like that there's only so far back they can go, because records then, they wouldn't have cared. So I thought that was very heartbreaking, and it definitely helped me to see different sides to aspects. And the hair, she talks very much about her hair maintenance, and something I wouldn't have thought about at all. I just see this lovely gorgeous hair and I don't realise that it takes different maintenance, and Alex Scott talks about that in her memoir too. I enjoyed it. Truthfully, when I was about halfway into this, I was like, I am not reading the sequel anytime soon. And now I want to. It leaves it quite open-ended, and which makes you want to read the sequel. I do have the sequel, so I don't think I can read the sequel next month. We'll see. But at the moment, no, I'm not reading the sequel this year. But very enjoyable, and I think I will keep this book, and it's one of the prettiest book covers that I have, and so I love that book cover. I just think it's gorgeous. That is my November wrap up. Please enjoy your day, and if you like this video, please like and comment if you read any of the books that I've talked about, or if you want to talk about yourself, or if you have any recommendations for me. And enjoy your day. Thank you. Bye. Please don't fall. You're gonna fall.